Good morning. Welcome to Fallawsophy. I'm your host, Jennifer Fallaw-Doering. And today we're going to go over a few things that I got Gentel yesterday. Don't really have anything new today. But I do have quite a few thoughts over coffee. So you're going to want to tune in for that. It's going to make a lot of sense to you. All right, let's see who's with us this morning. Got everybody's here this morning. Lori, Laura, JK, Judy. Now we do have some moderators on the YouTube channels now. Figured that out. Well, actually just got time to get on the computer and do it. So we shouldn't have any problems. You guys, Judy, Mike, and Scott, you should have the ability to get rid of any negative comments that are in there because nobody likes that. Okay? Nobody likes a negative Nelly. Let's see here. I don't like to wait around for people who are late to class to show up to the live stream so they can go back when they get here. So let's get going with it. For the Gentel today is the 20th of February, 2024. Yesterday, I got quite a bit of information. And if you did not tune in to Real News Live on Rumble that I do every Monday and Wednesday, you missed it. So, Interdimensional Meditation by Jennifer Fallaw-Doering on the 6th level of heaven with Archangel Michael and Gabriel for President's Day, the 19th of February, 2024. That was when I got the information. I asked, what is going on with the tensions between Russia and the USA? Archangel Gabriel said the world is in transition. That will look like chaos. In the end, we win. And I said, who is we? And sometimes I do that because when I hear something like we, I just kind of keep the archangels on their toes, and it's really more my perception just to make sure no bad guys like slipped into my perception or telling me anything. So I always do this. I always ask them to do things like shine for me and, do you love God and stuff, and they have to answer, because if a bad guy's in there trying to talk to you in perception, they're not going to be able to say yes. So I do that. I said, who is we? And this was cool. His eyes just got very bright. And he said, the Father wins. God the Father wins. And he stared at me and I'm like, okay. Absolutely. Yes. I got it. Also said Russia is sending planes in to disassemble an unholy alliance. And I asked, will Russia go to war with the USA? He said it may look that way for a day or so. England, USA, and Australia combine to do something. He says Iraq stops it, which was interesting and surprised me a little bit. I'm like, really? And it says papers revealed. So we want to keep an eye out for all these things this week. Really wasn't a time frame on that. I didn't say what's happening today or tomorrow. Where are we at right now? What I asked was what's going on with the tensions between Russia and the USA. So time periods on that are approximate. I said, is the unholy alliance England and the USA or the UK and the USA? No. It is an underground alliance of troops creating false scenarios. And so it doesn't mean like they live underground. It just means behind the scenes. Will this lead to Biden's removal? Yes, it will in the coming weeks. Be strong. Now, the archangels very rarely pass on any negative information to me. Okay? But if they say be strong, they might have an opportunity to be strong there somewhere. The way things are going right now, I was looking at the rents for the kids because, I'm like, okay, there's got to be something out there. You know, got all your young adult, early 20 something kids in your house, and you're just like, okay, what's going on, people? They're not lying. They're not lying. 2-bedroom apartment's like $1,600. I mean, even more, and it depends on where you live. It's not the, hey, let's move out with our buddy and, get a $600 apartment and work and survive and still be able to eat kind of days that some of us grew up in. It was like, we all just moved out. And we had the opportunity to do that. Now you can either choose to pay the rent, and some of these landlords should be ashamed of themselves. I don't get me started on that. You can choose to pay the rent for some of these young people or people on fixed incomes, or you can eat. Now, also, along the way, what I've observed and what I told you was coming, because I felt it coming, that wasn't just psychic, that was mommy senses tingling. Layoffs. The inability to find a good position. Jobs. So if you got a job, keep it till this thing blows over or happens. If you can find a job, take it. Because right now, businesses are cutting the fat. And wages really don't match the rise in rents. But it's so ridiculous. Because they tell you, okay, well, no, I'm sorry. You can't afford a mortgage payment to buy something. So you're going to have to rent. Well, the rent's going to be more than a mortgage payment. So what are you really telling me here? That's where we're at. And if they let this thing continue more, it's going to get bad. So we're going to have to conserve. We're going to have to budget, keep the food in the house. I just feel like we're moving into a time that looks a lot like a depression. Okay? Look back on your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and listen to some of the things in your memories that they told you, the ways that they act, the things that they did. Because it seems like every time we move forward, and I don't panic. This is still happening. Right now, with the whole war scenario, they're lining up for the, removal of the big guy. Okay? In the very White House. Everything's got to be lined up and ready to go once they pull the trigger. And that's what's happening right now. So this is progress. But during that progress, until they pull the trigger on the financial transition, we're going to have to do whatever we have to do to keep going. For me, that means everybody lives in my house and their dogs and everybody else, and I'm feeding everybody. And then you got like brothers and sisters coming to the door who need things. Anyway, but that's okay. If I got it, I'll share it. It's just who I am. And I always have food. So it doesn't have to be a dark time. It doesn't have to be. But it is the time to put all those feelings of you should be doing this, and why do I have to give that to you, and why do I have to share, and why do I have to help, and why do I have to invite you into my home when the young adult children come back? And I know it's not for all of you, but I'm just, talking out loud here. First of all, will there ever be a time when you're going to have that time together again without husbands and children and moving away and all that other stuff? Probably not. Enjoy it. Just do whatever you can to get by, because it's still happening. And that's where we're at. And that's why there's no news, because everything on the financial side's all set up. They're setting up the political side for the transition. And in the middle, we got all kinds of minions running around trying to create chaos to create the scenario also. Well, bad guys too. But to take care of the political situation. But that kind of has to be lined up and ready once they flip the financial switch for this transition, because as soon as that happens, you got to pull out the guy in the White House. And then we got to have somebody, interim government was what I originally saw. And we got to go to gold. So that's where we're at. That sucks, but everything passes, doesn't it? Every time in your life that has been hard is in hindsight, isn't it? Yeah. Let me ask something. Okay, 5 years and 23 days ago, random, what were you worried about? What was the financial situation in your home? Did you make it? Did you figure it out? Yeah, you did. We don't think about it anymore. This too shall pass, and we will come to brighter days. So distract your attention, do what you got to do, stay within the moment, talk about other topics, still happening. Now, let's change this. Okay. So, many times in the past, I have been excluded. I have been, despite my best, honest and true efforts, attacked because of what I do. And I've been in the spiritual, I might be new to you, but I've been around for a long time, and I've been in the spiritual community for a long time, and I know a lot of mediums, and I know a lot of healers, and I know a lot of people. And the one thing that I found, there's some bad guys out there, okay? And they're just living on and acting out and doing all these things for personal reasons. And you can't trust and listen to everybody, but people that come into this life with remembering more about how to function as a soul, to do things and to send messages to you, are essential. They are essential. Even if it's just your grandma, who all of a sudden said one thing you remember for the rest of your life. Was that hers, or was it given to her? Most of us don't even realize the divine guidance that comes in, disguised as our own thoughts. And to explain that, I don't hear voices outside of myself. That would scare the crap out of me, and I would be like, oh my God. All right, I've lost it. Something's going on. Either that or we're haunted. And we're encouraged over and over again throughout our lives to pray. Not just to pray, but to receive guidance from those prayers. And we were told that God would never leave us alone. There are people, spirits and bodies. That's all we are, people. Spirits and bodies. And there are people that are so open and willing to say, you know what? Why not? Why not? Well, I know that the church and our religion and all the different religions, they tell us, well, you can talk to God, but he can't talk to you. So don't even try that crap. Don't even get fancy with it. All right? You just submit the request and hope that, God, you're good enough that God will remember you. God, it's so much more loving than that. That just takes the love right out of everything, doesn't it? Whose opinions of us as human beings, are we supporting and believing that? Maybe the ruling powers of the world? It's funny. I'm so surprised always when I get the kill all the mediums thing. Don't listen to her. She's evil. She's just like foo-foo and out there and talking to Jesus and stuff. My God. What a terrible person. What's coming out of my mouth? Well, how do we know? How do we know who's good and who's bad? Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's the same way that you live your life. You have to decide in every moment of every day what people are good and what people are bad. And, does this work for me? Or are they going to take advantage of me? Are they lying to me? We have to figure that out within our own family. Each and every person should be judged on their own merits, their own intentions. And how do we know that? We have been conditioned as a society for too long to look for someone outside of ourselves to tell us what to do, tell us who we are, tell us how to feel, tell us what's cool, what's pretty, what's not, what's bad. And that changes all the time. And who decides that? Who's really deceiving us? Oh, you watch the news, all right? And we're going to tell you what's really going on, and you better believe it, because that's what everybody else is doing. And then we get into high school and they say, well, don't listen to what everybody else is doing. Be your own person. No peer pressure. Then we've got the Bible. Don't get me wrong, the truth is in there. Why do you have to sit with it? Why are there Bible studies? Because you're supposed to be listening to your own instincts. And it's something that we have been taught since the day we were born not to do. There's all this confusion. Okay, well, you're loved unconditionally, but don't you dare get a divorce. You live in that torture and that abuse and whatever you got to do with that guy hitting you, because you made a contract with God and you're owned, and you better stay there or you're going to hell. And it's like, well, but you've seen what I'm going through, Father. What I thought was you loved me anyway. Oh, no. You have to listen word for word, and then you've got whatever your religion is. And why are there so many? So much confusion. Do you think that's by design? I do. And it's not from God. Nothing evil, mean, torturous, sad, condemning. It's going to come from God. The highest of vibration? There's only love and wisdom there. It's like what I said on Telegram the other day. Okay, be a beacon of light. Go into a dark room and pick a spot on the wall. It's dark, isn't it? Now shine a light on it. Oh, turn on your flashlight, shine it on that exact spot. Don't look at the rest of the room, look at the spot. Is it still dark? No. Because where there is light, darkness cannot exist. And the same concept is true. And the place of highest vibration, the most knowledge, the highest vibration of all, at the center of everything, there is no, human characteristics other than love. And love is not a human characteristic. It's what the soul knows. It's what the soul is made of. And those who go against that, it is a corruption of self. And they experience the self being corrupted. So, what I'd like to talk about today is to kill all the mediums that everybody throws at me every time because it's somehow somebody either they saw a Facebook post or they read a passage in the Bible and they think they know, right? I think it's hypocritical. I really do. Oh? Why? Because back in the Bible, somebody, did something wrong. Somebody had the wrong intentions and they were deceiving someone. Well, we could say the same thing about men. Are all of them bad? Because we know of one who was a cheater and a liar and bad and hurt people? No, they're not all bad. What about women? Same deal. What about dogs? Yeah, felt that one, didn't you? What about dogs? Well, I knew somebody one time had a dog that bit a child. Should I stay away from all dogs forevermore? No. Do not judge someone's intentions and ability to connect for you, to give you just that one thing that you might need. Just keep moving forward. So, let's walk through it, shall we? If I can get to my... What is a medium? A medium is someone who communicates with an entity or soul outside of this, quote, physical dimension. Newsflash, it seems physical because we're here right now. And when you go home, that'll seem physical. We don't have to eat and do all the things that we have to do here because of the location of that dimension compared to the source. We're bathed in high vibrational light. You don't have to eat. You don't have to sleep. Okay? There's a difference. A medium is somebody who receives information from an entity that is not in the body. Plain and simple. But nobody goes to the place that the medium goes to. Why? Why do they do that? For others. Yeah, there's some freaky weird people that like fear and excitement. They think it's exciting and they're dark and they're doing all kinds of bad things. We're not talking about those people. They are the exception. I mean, they're the minority. Most mediums, when they really figure out that this is something they can do, they use it. And I'm telling you what, you're all mediums in one way or another. If you are praying and you're receiving guidance, if you've ever had what you believe is a loved one who passed away, if you're talking to them in your mind and you feel like you saw them in the corner of your eye or received answers from them, had a dream and they came and told you something, what's that? Mediumship. At what point in time is that bad? You have to take a look at what that medium is doing with it. Are they doing it and letting this message flow on a vehicle of love for another person? What's with the light? I haven't even moved. Just hang on a second. See, when I talk about these things, I just start shining and I can't help it. I'm just kidding. Let's just tell people that, freak them out. All right, go back to normal. So I sit here with my arms down and I don't move because there. Okay. Do not move at all. Okay. What's a prophet? Anybody? I know the Catholics out there have heard it. It's in the Catholic profession faith. I believe it's the Nicene Creed. Of course, they changed that ever so often. We all get it memorized, and then you go to mass, and you're like, okay, everybody's got a pamphlet. They've got the little laminated card because they can't relearn the profession of faith. It says, what does it say? He has spoken through the prophets. And so when people come out and they say, well, I'm so Christian and I'm so good and I'm so this and I'm so that, and then they throw their judgment at me. I'm like, well, I think it says that you're not supposed to do that, for one. Two, he has spoken through the prophets. Will bad guys pose as prophets? Yeah, they will. That's why you got to have strong faith. That's why you have to connect emotionally and spiritually, not just say, well, I'm a good person because I go to church. And, I read the Bible and everything. Oh, yeah, what are you doing after church? Then again, who wrote the Bible? Enlighten me on that. The Bible was written through prophets up to 1,500 years later. Pretty sure. I had to check on that. Let's see. What the hell did I do with that? Sorry. No dead air, no dead air, no dead air. I did prepare for this a little bit. I don't really prepare a whole lot, but 40 authors wrote the Bible over a period of 1,500 years. And these Bible writers wrote as they were inspired by the Holy Spirit. Timothy 3:16-17. Really? Well, do you think they received divine guidance? Yeah. Yeah, they did. Why? Because they believed that they could. Because they were open enough to it. Because they had a conversation going on with God. What did Jesus do? Ongoing conversation going on with God. Jesus, massive big piece of God right there. Couldn't be the whole thing because we have to hold the thought of creation in place. And what are you doing when someone comes out and is trying, like on a show or in their daily life? You don't know what that person's doing. They could be doing all kinds of good. And throw dirt at them and call them evil and everything else because you heard somebody say, kill all the mediums. Now, first of all, kill all the mediums. Does that sound divine to you? No. Sounds human to me. The struggle in receiving divine guidance and putting it out there is getting past your human filters, your programming, your fears, what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear. Aside from a very strong faith, the only reason I can do what I do is because I believe I can. And I want to. A lot. So the thought I had today was, why do all these truthers, we call ourselves truthers, exposing all the lies in government and all the horrific things that are going on in the world that we should know about? Yes, absolutely. But then they tell you no. You read this document, these books, word for word, and don't you ever stray. Don't you ever start to think. And then they contradict themselves by saying, okay, word for word, well, you're not supposed to judge. That's a pretty big one. That's a pretty big one, but you're doing it constantly online and in front of lots of people when you attack people on shows. Or even within our own families. How can you not believe the news word for word like you're supposed to? But still believe the Bible word for word. This has been translated and retranslated. Why are there so many versions? Where are all the books? Picked and chosen, and that's the first thing that evil got to through the hands of men to control society. Now, I asked Archangel Michael about it a long time ago. And he said, yes, it has been rewritten, translated, changed over time to control men and women. To control, and for a very long time, religion was the ruling power, wasn't it? For a very long time, you weren't even good enough to read it yourself. Oh, we can't have that going on. Well, they might have thoughts. They might not. They might come back at us and say, well, this doesn't seem right. So no. You're too stupid. Do not read the word. You sit there, give us your coins, and do exactly what we say. And we can stay in power. And some of this might be shocking to you. Oh my God, blasphemy. Blasphemy. She's blasphemous. You know what? You're really going to jump on board with this uncovering the secrets of the world and breaking out of the programming and waking up? You're going to have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And understand that there are things in there that have been put there to create confusion. And that maybe you don't know everything. Most of the time when people say things like that or judge other people, they don't know the whole story. You don't know somebody's whole story. And if you did, you'd feel like a total jerk for saying whatever you did. People don't know your whole story. Why were we told not to judge? Because you don't know the whole story. And in doing so, you're assuming that you do and that you know everything and that you're right and that your will and your ideas and your feelings are more important than another person. More so, you're casting pain and suffering upon another person. And that's not what we're supposed to do. It is important that we forget who we are when we come here so we can be this person right now. And whatever I teach and learn along the way, I have no idea where I'm going. I've got certain ideas of what I want to do, but it's pretty much day by day. And as people come to me and I learn more and I share it with you. But if you're really going to wake up, if you really want the truth, you will find your way back to God and that private, loving, understanding and place where you don't need all these rules because you don't want to do those bad things. Because you have wisdom now and you understand that is not progress. Now, there's certain defense mechanisms that we have to figure out if somebody's going to put us in danger, take advantage of us or whatever. That's life. And yeah, that's important. And that's learned. But to assume you know everything about everything because you sat in whatever branch of religion it was in whatever church that you sat in, and you heard something one day, or maybe some people throw it out from a Facebook post. Do you even know the story behind that phrase? Probably not. But people have been so conditioned to look to human beings in certain places of authority to tell us what to think and what to do and how to feel and everything else. And that's a lazy, comfortable place to be. We are the ones who said, why not? We are the ones who decided to think out of the box. We are the ones who are pushing for a better tomorrow. We have gone first. And there is an inner knowing within all of you that this is part of your path. And that there are many of us out there joining together to create that better tomorrow. There's an inner knowing there. There is also an inner knowing that makes you not follow all the rules that the church says you should follow. And if you are so convinced that you have to follow word for word, why aren't you? So anybody that comes out, starts throwing opinions and condemning other people for the good work that they think in their life and their path and their true honest intentions are doing, and you want to jump on a post or exclude somebody from a group or a chat or a show or whatever it is, oh, no, they're evil. Why don't you sit down and explain to me why you know that? So, everybody's a hypocrite, pretty much. And I think my point here was to wake you up a little bit more, okay? Why is it that people don't understand or don't receive more guidance in their own life? They put the confusion in our most sacred texts, in all the most holy and wonderful places, all the most divine places, to stop you from doing so. And everybody screams, why this, why that, why this, why that? That's the number one reason why. And why is your perspective, your perception, your opinion so important? Because the bad guys know that you are capable of so much more. They know you're all a spark, a piece of God, have an experience, and they chose to corrupt themselves and turn away from being creators, and they must use you to create what they want in this reality, in this dimension, as human beings. So, I have seen over the years that the number one reason that causes people so much pain and is that disconnection. And there we go with the light again. Really need to buy a different camera. Stop using the laptop. Over time, I have observed that you ask people, do you believe in God? Do you believe you go home to heaven? Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, I do. Okay. Do you believe the spirit lives on? Oh, yeah. So when your grandma wonderful, sweet little precious grandma passes over who loved you so much, and they get into the spirit world, and then somebody comes along. It's just all you really need to keep moving forward is just that one. If you just pick up the phone, if you could just pick up the phone and talk to grandma again. And then grandma knows that this is in your heart. She knows that. And somebody comes along and gives you a message from grandma, and for a second, for a moment, it pang, you knew. Holy crap. Only grandma would know that. And you keep it. There's an opportunity to choose whether to keep it or let that lie. I'm really getting tired of this camera. All right. Everybody sit really still and be really quiet, and it'll go back to normal. So my point here is that that thing that you heard from grandma, say when you're 25 years old, did you keep it for the rest of your life? Did you have a dream where they told you something and it was that bad? Did grandma just become evil all of a sudden because she's not in her body anymore? No. Love knows no walls. It knows no boundaries. And we can't even fathom the amount of love that God has for you. I could tell you stuff make you cry, like ugly cry, that I have witnessed in the healings, in the readings. When people come to you, you have to judge a person on their intentions and their actions and their words and their efforts. But the one thing that people suffer from the most is this disconnection. And it's because so much confusion has been put out there. Oh, of course we live on. Of course God exists and everything else. But they make it such a weird thing, like, oh yeah, he's some big man out there somewhere. Is there a consciousness? Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. So they try to belittle the entire concept so much throughout society. A little bit here, chipping away at it, a little bit there, create doubt, create confusion, blah, blah, blah. They don't want you to know that you live on. They want you to think this is your only shot. You better comply. The one thing that would help everyone is to truly know those who've had experiences with loved ones, seeing them. It's one thing that a true medium with good intentions, they know. Even if they're seeing ghosts, they know. They've seen it. So I'm going to tell you a little story just in case. And at this point, you could sit there and say, yeah, I know we live on. Yeah, I know God exists. Yeah, I know Jesus exists. I don't need to hear this story, but I needed it a long time ago. Some of you have heard it before. But it is, and I think that this happened so that I could be sitting here telling you today. Long time ago, and I feel after my husband was killed by a drunk driver in 2007, leaving me with my two girls to go on by myself, who were 4 and 7 at the time, Faith and Katie. And it's a long story. I'll tell the whole story. So we're just going to tell the snippet, okay? So before this time, it was a day. The kids were home. A few months after it passed. And over time, I kept, like, I put his ring on a necklace, and I keep it. I put so much value in these pieces of things that I had left, like the wedding ring, and I'd wear it around my neck. And one day, and everything I wore, like the old rings he'd give me, everything, it would lose a stone. Like, well, this could really be because I haven't like taken it into the jeweler and do what I'm supposed to do and check the facets and all that. I don't do that. Not good at stuff like that. So I just wear it. And it was awfully coincidental. And every time I'd drop a stone, I'm like, damn it, I was going to give that to the girls. Bill, leave my jewelry alone. And I put it back. I put it in the jewelry box. When I had the ring on a necklace one day, the way the house was set up is that you go into the living room. You go up maybe 8 stairs to an upper level, which was my large bedroom suite and a bathroom connected, short hallway to get landing to go down the stairs. Then you go down the stairs to the girls' room and then down another flight of stairs to the basement. One day I was going to take a shower, so I took the ring and the gold necklace off and I put it on this little vanity I had. The doors were closed. Kids occupied. So I rushed in to take a shower. And I put the ring on the chain and I stretched the chain out on the vanity and laid it down so it wouldn't kink. So it was all perfect because it was so important to me, this one thing that I had left that I could hold on to. And so I I took a shower and I came out and I got dressed and I came back to get the necklace. And it was removed from the chain, which was clasped. It was not open. And the ring was in one corner and the chain was in a pile in the other corner of the vanity. And I'm like, ugh, those kids, how'd they even get there? And I go, and the doors are locked. I'm like, okay. So it took me a minute. And so I sat there and I was like, how did this even happen? So I put it back on the chain and I put it right back where I had it and I left it there. And then I went downstairs, told those kids, nobody go in my room. I was actually in the kitchen while they were watching TV, and my brother came over because in the beginning, after somebody passes, everybody comes over all the time, make sure you're okay. And then there's a period of time where nobody comes over, and that's when it hurts. But I was down there with them, and I thought in my mind, all right, if you did that, Bill, was my husband who passed, I said, do it again. So I made dinner. My brother came over. We sat down. We ate everything, and we were sitting on the couch after that. Nobody went upstairs. If they went upstairs, I would have seen them. Freak you out. So then I'm talking to Randy, my brother, and I told him the story. He goes, "Have you checked it?" No. He goes, "Let's go check it." So we go up there. I can't even describe the feeling. Same thing. The ring was in the one corner off of the chain, and the chain was in a pile in the other corner. And I knew he's telling me to stop wearing his stuff. But in the very, very early days when somebody passes away, they're acclimating to the other side. They still can move things around. After a while, no. So I'm like, okay, there's that. So I did not listen. And a little while later, I don't know how much time had passed, I kept wearing the jewelry. And one by one, a stone would fall out or something would happen to each and every piece that he gave me. Message was, move on. So one day, kids were home, 4 and 7 still. They were in the living room, down from the bedroom, sitting on the floor watching TV. Now, a bomb could go off in front of these children at that time. They were never video game kids. They were outside or TV. Staring at the TV with their mouths open. I'm like, they'll be good for a few minutes. So I went upstairs, I closed the doors, and I knew it was time to take the ring off. Very emotional thing for me. I'm like, all right, I can't let them ruin this wedding ring because I want to make it into something for the girls someday, along with his. So I sat down on the bed and I was going to take the ring off and I wasn't going to put it back on. It was time. So I took it off and I put it back on. I took it off and I put it back on. I took it off. I'm like, this is stupid. This is stupid. I didn't say anything out loud. Nobody knew what I was doing. No sound. Everything in my head. So I got up and I walked across the room and I put it in the jewelry box and I came and sat down on the bed. I wasn't crying or anything. And all I said in my mind was, you know what, Bill? Well, I have your ring, but I wonder if you're wearing like a replica in heaven. I wonder if you still have your ring on. And I was thinking that in my head. And I just sat there and maybe a minute went by and all of a sudden, a little knock on the door. And I opened the door. And this wasn't the first time that Faith had an experience with her father after he died. That's a whole nother story. That's really cool, by the way. So I opened the door and there's Faith Marie. Sweetest, precious child you ever seen in your life. Well, that's my opinion. And 7 years old. And the look she would get on her face after she had an experience was kind of shock. Not fear, just shock. And I said, what? She says, I just saw Daddy. And every time she told me that, I said, okay, tell me what happened. She said, well, I was sitting there watching TV. Now, I'm going to go over the points why there's no way this kid made this up. She said, I was sitting there watching TV. Like I said, bomb could go off, nothing to distract her. She goes, and I felt something on my shoulder. And she looked over at her right shoulder. And it looks opposite to you right now on the thing, but and she says, I saw a hand. And she goes, and I looked up and I saw Daddy, and he was looking at me and he was smiling, and then he was gone. Like, oh, honey, she's just telling you that he's still around and that he loves you, and that's totally normal, and what a blessing that you can see him and do these things, which is all very true. Okay. And because it had happened so often with her as a child, being a medium, and I never asked for it. You guys kind of know how I am. I won't watch other videos and things like that because I want the information that comes to be clean. And so I never asked her, hey, have you talked to Daddy lately? I mean, I totally could, but I didn't do that. I let it just come when it came. So I told her everything's okay, and I was just going to close the door and go cry for a little bit, and then she walks to the end of the landing to go down the stairs into the living room and watch TV again, and she stops and she turns around. She goes, oh, and Mommy? And I said, yeah? Said, he still has his ring on. And I did just what I'm doing right now. It gives me the same. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of lost it, closed the door. That's great. And I went back in the room and I sat there and I thought about it for a long time. I was like, I didn't say anything out loud. I was talking to him in my head. He heard me. There's no other explanation for that. He heard me. And he told me through that child. And you don't want to think that my child is beautiful and innocent and pure and divine? You don't know Faith. Nah, she's got her problems now. She's 20. She's 24 now. But then, through the mouths of babes. Now, you tell me that message was evil. Should we kill that medium? And if you didn't believe before that our loved ones lived on and they hear you talking to them in your head, you know now. You know now. So let's just for a minute stop throwing our negative crap and baggage at everybody else and get back to that close personal connection with God, Jesus, and the ones that you love, because that's what's real. And all this confusion, all this crap around the edges that makes you believe that you're alone, that's all just to control humanity. That story, it was just so good. There's just no way. There was no way. And I'm actually a pretty rational person. Pretty grounded person, pretty responsible. I always something happens. Well, let's just hold on for a second. Let's see how can we debunk this whole situation? She looked at her right shoulder, and a 7-year-old child is not going to know that the wedding ring is on the left hand. And if he was standing, she was sitting facing the TV, and he put his hand on her shoulder, it would have had to be the left hand. He was at it. She said he was at her right, and when she looked down at that ring, she saw that hand, she saw the ring. And more than that, she came and told me the story. But the way she acted when she turned around, said, "Oh, and Mommy, he still has his ring on." Why would she tell me that? Why would a 7-year-old child say that? Why would she even think about that? No. It was the answer to what I was thinking in my head. It's the question that I asked him, and it was very important maybe because of what I would eventually do. Maybe because someday I would be sitting here talking to you, and that's the one thing you remember when you start to doubt. She got it right. I know he wasn't an earthbound spirit because every time she saw him on a daily basis for 6 months, pretty much after he passed. And there are many stories like that. And he knew that she was the one who could pass on the messages. She was the one who was open enough. So don't ever doubt that your loved ones lived on, and don't ever doubt that you're loved, and don't believe that it's not unconditional. Because that is the ultimate truth. If you're going out calling yourself a truther, you will eventually find your way there. And if you don't, then you still got a lot to learn. You got to walk the walk. It's not about belief now. It's about knowing. And we all know this. Look at all the stuff we know now that we didn't know before. And sometimes we wish we didn't know. Because there's a burden in knowing. But what do we know? We know the bad stuff. Okay, that's important. That's important. Why is it important to know the bad stuff? Or to experience the bad stuff? To know the difference. Then, along the way, we choose. We choose. Let's go find out the good stuff. Stop believing the bad stuff. We have to break out of the program. Does that mean you lose your mind and go crazy and get all weird and, think that you're going to evaporate and move on to no, we're not going to be weird like that. But there are things that we still do in our own mind, in our own lives, and the way we act and think that is functioning within that programming. Something we have to think about. So that's probably the best wisdom that I could give today. Best message I could possibly give today. With all the people that we have lost, with everything we know and what we'll learn and where we're going, we have to know this. And we have to know why. They don't want us to know it. And if they don't want us to know it, then it's true. It's absolutely true. I could freak you out with many stories like that, but that one, can't explain that one away. Through the mouths of babes. It was pure and innocent and true. So when you talk to your loved ones in your head, doesn't matter how you do it. It's not the words. Doesn't matter if you say it out loud. It's the connection. And what is that connection? Love. And if you find a medium or a prophet who is using that same connection to give you what you need in that moment, honest and true, that's divine. I don't think I'm going to take questions today because I talk too much and I have to get to work, but that's the message for the day. As far as the rest of this stuff, it's still happening. Yes, this is a pain in the ass. But we will make it. We will get there. This too shall pass. Stay faithful. And speak to God, Jesus, and those loved ones on that vehicle of love. Keep it clean. Okay? And understand they will not send you anything scary. They will not they will never tell you what to do. Because the number one law in the universe, when it comes to God and all of his creations, we do not interfere with free will. Why? Because we are all a piece of God having experience. And that would be interfering with God's will. And the only people that are going to do that are either ignorant or evil. So that's how you know. Well, God told me to quit my job, and he told me to, when I was talking to God, he told me to quit my job, and he told me to leave my wife, and he told me to do all these things. Yeah, probably wouldn't tell you to do that. That's probably all your fears talking to you in your own head. I don't hear it. Once again, it's going to be your own voice in your own head. Okay? Get down to that deeper connection. Connect with your Father and your family. And get out of the way and let that divine guidance flow on a vehicle of love. And that's the class for today. Thanks for joining me. Love that soapbox. I love getting up on the soapbox. But now you see why I had to have my own time to say my own stuff. There's a lot in there. I got a lot of thoughts, all right? And I don't think it's ever going to end. So, and like today, I had no idea what to talk about until I sat down and I started to think. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's the best thing to know right now. That's the best thing to know. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. I will be back tomorrow on Real News Live. Oh, that's right. If you would like, I should put this up there. Forget to promote myself. Go to jenniferfallaw.com if you'd like a reading or a healing. You can also go to Fallawsophy on Telegram. Thank you all for joining me. And I will see you tomorrow on Real News Live on Rumble. There's the light again. Time to shine. Time to shine, everybody. Shine, be a beacon of light and shine through the darkness. That is your job.